My guest today is Leann Wolff. Welcome to the podcast, Leann. Tell me, what is your passion?
Hey, Jamie. So I am a human design coach, and my passion is to really assist people in stepping into their purpose, being their true self, and really coming to a place of self-mastery where the conditioned polarity of our mind isn't running the life. It really is from a heart-centered, spiritual aspect that is operating through the life. That's really what my passion is.
Wow, there is a lot to unpack there, which I'm sure we will get to in just a moment. I mean, are you almost saying like that certain things are destined?
100%. So
Yeah.
when I just close my eyes and I take a look inside, I can see that the world is, the universe, the creation is a vibration. It's a frequency. And you and I hold little tiny packets of vibratory information. So there's a pattern. There's a pattern out there in the world, and the universe is created on this pattern. And you and I get to hold on to this frequency and be this frequency and help the universe expand its consciousness.
Yeah, I find it fascinating, and I apologize if any of my questions sound particularly like uninformed, but it's not something like I'm interested, but it's not something I'm particularly familiar with in kind of deep terms. So I apologize for that in advance. But so how do you help, I suppose, any clients that you might have?
So the system, again, the human design system that I use in all of my coaching requires their birth data. So really, when I see the human design system, it's like it's a leading edge personality test. So in a lot of personality tests, they ask you a whole bunch of questions, and your mind's trying to get in there and trying to answer all these questions, trying to fit yourself in this box. And what human design does is it takes your birth data, and then it provides us with all of the information that we require for relationships, wealth, business, career, spiritual awakening. So every aspect of the life is shown in the human design system. So what I do is basically, I give the client permission to be themselves. So I provide the information. Oh, go ahead. So I provide the information, Jamie, and they get to resonate to it and go, oh, I've been trying not to be that, trying to disregard that, but now I can really truly step into it.
And how do you discover these like traits and things? Like, do you talk to them beforehand? Do you get any extra information personally, or is it all literally like from the air, as it were?
Yeah, I don't talk to them at all. I just require their birth data. And then when I put it into the computer software program, what the human design system uses, it uses old esoteric foundations. So it uses the Chinese I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, the Kabbalah tree of life, and astrology, but it marries it with today's quantum physics and biomechanics. So there is, it's a beautiful compilation, right, of having that foundation and then bringing that, as you and I were talking before the podcast, that nostalgia into today's leading edge science.
I mean, it amazes me, and I realize that there'll be some out there that will be a tad skeptical about this thing. And I know before we started talking, you offered for me to do what it is you do with your clients and all the things that you're talking about as a way of almost, I mean, I can tell you, I've looked at this chart that they've done based on my birth data, and it was pretty much conclusive. I mean, obviously you asked for my birth time.
Yeah.
I didn't know it exactly,
Yeah.
but it was pretty much there, which was incredible.
Yes. Yep. Because there's no, for me, there's no mistakes in the universe. There's no mistakes. So when Creator said, you know, here you are, here's your frequency, and you get to jump into this meat suit and you get to represent this frequency. Like, there's no mistakes. So
yeah, sorry,
go on. No, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was going to say, you say we're all kind of on frequencies, as it were. Do we all have a separate frequency, or do we share them with others?
So how I see it, it's like this big orchestra, right? There's 8 billion people on the planet, and each one of us gets to hold our own note in that orchestra. So we're designed to blend and be in harmony and resonate to particular notes. For example, your wife, your child, you know, an employer, whatever that is. But you get to hold that note and then create the music in your life that you need to create based off of holding true to that frequency.
Which again there is a lot there. So you've created this chart for me, and I looked at it, and obviously, as I say, the words in it, kind of, you could apply them to me.
Yes.
I mean, how does this come to you?
So, back in about 8 years ago, I was in a corporate job, and my physical body was breaking down, and it was saying no more. And the human design system bumped into me. So it's a software program that was created by actually a Canadian man. I'm also Canadian. And it marries all of this information together. And then 8 years, I've been studying, taking classes, working with clients all over the world to really hone in on all of these different aspects that happen through the human design. It's called the body graph. And the listeners, unfortunately, can't see this body graph right at the moment. But what it does is it brings the information that is necessary from the I Ching, from astrology, and the chakra system and the tree of life, and it brings this all to the forefront so that I can then, quote unquote, read your energy for you, and basically talk it back to you, so that you can go, oh yeah, that is me. That is me. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. And well, as I say, the listeners can't see it, but I have the chart in front of me. Can you kind of just talk us through some of the main areas of this chart, kind of what it tells you? Because all I see is a bunch of numbers and symbols, but can you explain what they mean?
So in the human design languaging, we talk about 4 different energy types. So even though we are all 8 billion unique aspects of time and space, we put us into these 4 little boxes because these 4 little boxes provide us with an understanding of how we're designed to interact based off of our auric field, okay? So for you, you're a projector, or what we would call an advisor. So your energy is very focused, it's very absorbing. So doing these one-on-one interviews is like so palpable for you. It's so important because you get to focus in on one thing, one person, and you get to bring my energy out. Okay, so as a projector, you get to focus in, absorb it, and then your questions guide the movement. And that's what projectors get to do. You guys get to guide the energy on this planet by asking questions, by really getting to know the other person, and then guiding them down the path that is correct for them. So when I look at your particular chart, your purpose is to look out and see the patterns of the world, and then recognize those patterns and extrapolate the consciousness out of those patterns. And you do that by having this very, very, very strong memory that allows you to bring all the memories from like eons and lifetimes and ages ago. All of that memory gets to come up through you to be expressed so that humanity can really move forward again from that solid foundation of the past. And then you get to transmit that memory to people so that they can progress. They can recognize where they're supposed to be putting their attention so that they can see that depth and go, that's where humanity was. This is where we can go.
Yeah, I mean, again, you've got it spot on there, and there are ways there in which I didn't kind of see myself previously. Now I'm looking down the headings here, and I've got here not self-theme bitterness. What does that mean?
Yep. So in the Human Design Body Graph, if anybody wants to pull up their body graph, they can do that. They can go to my website at www.powerofself.ca, and you can grab your free chart there. But on the Human Design Body Graph, what you'll notice is there's going to be 9 centers. And these 9 centers are like functions. They're like energy hubs. And any of them that are white or not colored in, these are spaces where you and I are designed to interact. We're designed to gather wisdom. But what happens is when we make decisions through the mental capacity, our minds are polarity aspects. So the mind is always saying this and that. So that not self, anything that's white is not you. It's really those are those spaces where it's like a doorway, where people are supposed to come into your life so that you can gain wisdom. But what happens is the mind wants to say, oh, I got to get better at this and I got to try to be this. So it starts to pull you down pathways that are not actually for you. Because it's always saying, if you would do this, you could do this, you should do that. And then there's bitterness there because as a projector, you're designed to guide people. Now, if that guidance is outside of the correct timing, people don't hear you, people don't believe you, they don't trust you, they don't take your guidance, and then you feel very bitter. Does that make sense?
That does make sense to me. I mean, I've got a couple of questions here. One of which, have you ever tried this on yourself?
Like pulling my own design?
Yeah.
You mean? Oh yeah, for sure. 100%. That's how I got to learn who and what I am. So so that I can be a better coach as well. I'm going to pull up mine here on the screen. So if anybody, wants to check out the video of this, they could do that.
Yeah, that will be available on YouTube.
Yep. So this is my chart. So I'm what you would call a manifesting generator. So Jamie, you're a projector. You're here to guide. Me, I'm a manifesting generator. I'm here to work. I'm here to use this builder. It's called builder energy. And I'm designed to be the boots on the ground and start, building what needs to be built on this planet. And you get to guide that energy. So by asking me questions, pulling out that energy field from me, then I can align to my true self and be that builder so that when I'm working in satisfaction.
Yeah. So there are obviously different types. I mean, are there an infinite number of types?
So there's only 4 types, but there's an infinite number of designs.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. That does make sense. I mean, when you ask people to do this, or when people want to do it, I mean, how long does it take you? And in general, how often is this used?
So this is a daily practice. So the foundational understanding of human design is to switch our decision making from a mental place to a body place. Okay. And for example, for you, Jamie, it's about trusting your intuition, trusting the spontaneous intuition that comes through you when somebody invites you in. Okay. That's really, what's important. And it's not about going into the mind and trying to decide this and that. It's about being fully present in the body and focused in on the body so that those decisions and those invitations that are correct, you move into them. You move forward with them and you can walk into that invitation. So it's really, it's a reading. I can do a reading, one session, or my best success for clients is when it's a process, when they walk into a package and they get to see this and touch it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And then all of a sudden it's in their cellular structure. So we walk through everything, health, business, relationships, all of that kind of stuff. So it's not a quick fix by any means, but just knowing your type, for you, it's a projector, your strategy, how you're designed to interact, and that's waiting for an invitation, and then trusting your inner authority for you, which is splenic, then allows for you to begin to make decisions correctly through the body. And then all of a sudden you'll notice how the alignment is even more prominent in your life. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And one thought that just occurred to me, and something I'm sure that you must come up against, and whenever I have anybody such as yourself onto the podcast, the question I always have to ask really for balance is, do you ever have anybody that's kind of skeptical about this stuff or perhaps doesn't believe what you're saying?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I will be honest with you, they don't seek me out. They're not going to resonate to the information. So they don't even bump into me. They don't even come into my view, because if they're skeptical or nervous about it, then they're not there. But the minute there's this little crack, right? Sometimes it happens through a shock. They lose somebody or they get really sick. And then all of a sudden they start seeking out, is there something bigger? Is there something more to life? And once that little crack happens in their consciousness field, that's when human design can come in and bring them to a place of awareness where it's bigger than us. What we're living in, it's bigger than us.
Yeah, there is a lot more going on out there. And if people wanted to, if people are interested in finding out where to get things, where would they need to go to find out more about you and what you do?
So my website is www.powerofself.ca. And I have lots of resources on there. And I also have a YouTube channel. And they can just search Leann Wolff and on YouTube and it will come up. And I have hundreds of videos on there about this system and how to apply it in your life.
Well, I'm sure that there will be many people intrigued to go and have a look at that. And I'm certainly intrigued by what you've told me here, because, we're all intrigued by, what's out there and what could be. And certainly there are bits of myself in the chart in which you've shown me that I perhaps ignored before, as you quite rightly said at the beginning. So I'll certainly be paying attention. Thank you for your help, and thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
I'm always intrigued to know more, because I was diagnosed with autism when I was 23 years old. From there, I literally had to wipe everything and start from the beginning.
Yep.
as you do. So you're learning every day.
Yeah. And something I'll share with you, the creator of the human design system, his name was Ra Uruhu.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was given that name when he had the experience, when he downloaded all of this through the ethers. One of the things he said about autism is that you guys are already light years ahead of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And you having the right angle cross of consciousness, the 63 here and the 64, these two activations from the sun earth on the design side is what we call it. They're in what we call the inspiration center. And you are so connected to the ethers that it doesn't surprise me in the least bit that you've been diagnosed with autism. Not at all.
Wow. That's amazing. So, I mean, they told me it was from, virtually from the moment you're born,
Yep.
which kind of ties into what it is you're saying.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is
because
amazing.
you're light years ahead of us. And what I love is that you're trying to ground yourself in the nostalgia. You brought yourself into all of this memory, all of this stuff. And that's how you're able to really ground yourself, because without that activation, you may not even be social. But because you have this ability to bring this memory from the past and ground yourself there, ground your physical body there, you can be a highly functioning autistic being.
So you're saying that's a positive thing?
It's 100% positive. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Because sometimes, I will sit there and I'll be practically stuck in a particular place and time. And it feels like, it's quite a negative thing. But you're saying it's positive.
It is, because it's keeping you here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's grounding you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. As I say, thank you for, sorry, go on.
And I was just going to say, and this 43rd gate here. So the 43 it's about breakthrough. It's about insight. Mm-hmm. So you get those insight, those breakthroughs, those mental moments of ahas by being stuck, by repeating it, going through it again and again and again and going, there it is. That's what it is. Because you get to extrapolate out of that memory what it is that you need. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, sorry, that's taken me by surprise, because I do get stuck a lot. Yep. And it is true. You're always looking for something. And sometimes mm-hmm. you think it's compulsion. You think it's like an addiction.
Yep.
But what you're saying is it's for us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful, because your creativity and your ability to listen to people, all of that can shine when you recognize that repetitive mental stuff is really bringing out what needs to be brought out to empower people.
Wow. I mean, I'm sure you have this said, but you're incredible. That is amazing. How you're able to, I mean, honestly, I'm blown away by that. That really, honestly, that's an answer to a question I've been wondering for years.
Yep. Yep.
And it's always been perceived as a negative thing.
Yeah. And that's the conditioning piece. So that not self, when people tell you it's negative, you feel very bitter inside of yourself, because it's like, this is happening. Why can't people accept it? And what human design does is said, let's accept it, because what you're bringing to humanity is profound, Jamie. It's really profound. And you're blending two worlds. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't always feel like that. So what are the two worlds?
You're blending the past and that mm-hmm. memory to the future, because mm-hmm. that's what autism is. You guys are already you're already in the future, so far ahead in the future that we want to try to condition you and bring you back and put you in a little box and, you know, say, don't do this and don't do that. And unfortunately, most of these children and yourself possibly are medicated because you're way out there and the world goes, oh, you know, what's happening? But you get to blend those two worlds. You get to go out there and extrapolate the consciousness field and blend it into the nostalgia and the memory and the depth. Yeah.
I mean, that is astonishing. Yeah. Absolutely astonishing. Thank you for this, and thank you for being on the podcast. It's been great to talk to you.